Alright, so I've been getting some questions about my Replica Dreamfeather build after I posted an Awakener video last week, and I thought I'd try and make a guide to explain how the build works. So let me start with the core mechanics, how this build is able to be so tanky. So we use Transcendence to make our armour apply to elemental damage. We stack the flasks up, nearly 2 million armour. We're Chaos Inoculation for Chaos damage, and we stack this with Endurance charges and Basalt Flask. We have 88%, 7 Endurance charges, so 88% reduction. So basically all kinds of damage just do nothing. How we make it do damage is of course the Replica Dreamfeather. With 2 million armor you get like 10,000% increased attack damage, so the DPS gets kind of crazy. Let me show a more recent Awakener video to demonstrate. So this was a kill I did, I think, yesterday. See, I have 8 stacks of this debuff, which makes me take 80% increased damage, and the beam still does around 1500. So I didn't take a meteor in this clip. You can do it. I've done it in the last video, but this wasn't a this fact. So the way we actually get this insane amount of armor is stacking this notable. We have, I think, 12 of them across all our clusters, using the new Divergent Determination, which does cost around 10 exalts, but this quality alone gives you about 140% more armor, essentially. That's how it works, because it's scaled. It gets scaled by aura effect as well. Anomalous Grace as well is great for full ailment immunity. Got here, you can see, well over 100%. And yeah, so the DPS, I went with Perforate because it's got a lot of flat added physical damage, which is great when your weapon is pretty, it's like 280 DPS weapon, so that flat fizz is really good. Perforate in general I think is a bit underrated. It's got insane single target in dead stance, and I think the AoE is pretty good in same stance. This is with 55% AoE just from Pulverize and a bit on my helmet, and I'd say it's pretty much full screen coverage. Right, so that's sort of the overview. Let me go over each piece of gear because it's a pretty gear intensive build. Before I start, I'd say it costs around 40 to 50 exalts to get it all put together. some of the gear is super cheap and other parts are quite expensive. So the weapons, just look for the best DPS you can get. 30 qualitying it with the beast craft, costs a couple of chaos, is definitely recommended, because the weapon has no % physical damage roll on it naturally, so quality is extra effective compared to other weapons. So the helmet, just we're CI, so Hubris Circlet's good. Get your helm enchant based on whatever skill you're using. This build, you can use any skill you want, really. This is generic attack damage scaling, so you can do physical, you can do elemental. As long as the skill works with a sword, you can run it. So get a helm enchant that's good for whatever skill you want to play. The important thing here is getting the 5% reduced mana reserved mod, which you can get with Essences or Redeemer, I think, influence. And then just, you know, ES, resistance is good, intelligence, whatever. Amulet as well, you want 5% reduced here, and allocates charisma, and then just, yeah, some damage. Dex is pretty important to get Dex on your amulet, because you need 155 for grace. So, yep, I think this amulet cost me like 30 chaos or something. The rings, you want 2 circles of guilt, and you actually want buff effect and physical damage reduction, not 60% physical damage, because that mod's additive with the 10,000% you already have, so it does almost nothing. So the physical damage reduction plus buff effect combo is insanely cheap. I think they're 5 chaos or something. With better implicits it's going to cost more, so I've got pretty good ones. I got endurance charge and vulnerability. I think this one was like 5 exalts, this one was 1 exalt, though you know, it's probably cheaper than it should have been. Gloves, so we run Shaper's Touch. It's not really a, you know, an attribute stacking build, but because our tree kind of just goes, you know, all the way around, we have quite a lot of attributes. So yeah, so you get energy shield from strength, you get evasion from your intelligence, you get a ton of accuracy from your intelligence, so it's pretty good all around. And it's easy corruption for +1 gems, which is huge. You guys have buffs like Grace, Determination, Enhance, which means we get even more armor from this quality, and power, of course. So yeah, these are best in slot by far. Boots, just Death's Door, endurance charge for more physical reduction, which we're trying to stack as high as we can. Bleed immunity, obviously, is very good, and they're just generally decent boots. Got resist, movement speed, so these are good. The belt, a little weird looking. This looks like crap, but you want this. The most important implicit isn't the energy shield, it's the 6% physical damage reduction. And then this other physical damage reduction mod you get from Essences of Horror, which are quite expensive, but you don't need an insane belt. You know, this one, it's just whatever. Just go for resistances. Crafting on Flask Effect is important. It's really good, but yeah. So the chest, this is... So I have a Skin of the Lords, which you won't really be able to get, at least with these colours. There's none for sale. This one took me a while to get. Generally, I would suggest, if you're wanting to use Perforate, especially, just run Skin of the Loyal. And then you would spec 8 points down here to get Iron Reflexes. You just drop like this, drop some jewels, maybe drop one of the Stalwarts. I was running a regular Skin of the Loyal for most of this build. Level 98 now, I only got this like 2 days ago. The build's completely fine without it, but if you're running, you know, Cyclone or something, the colors for Cyclone are more common, so you might be able to get an Iron Reflexes one more easily. But yeah, so that's just best in slot. So flasks, these are quite important. So you want a Jade and a Stibnite. You want the evasion rating and the armor rating, increased armor and evasion during flask effect. You want one of each, doesn't matter which one it's on, but they don't. You can't get 2 evasion rating ones. They have to be different. Alchemist Stibnite is good because it's, you know, it costs 10 charges. It's got a long base duration, so you can sustain Alchemists really easily. I went for Chemists on Jade just to make it easier to sustain it. Quicksilver Flask, you can go Alchemist here if you want. Silver Flask just for a bit more of clear speed. I do swap to Lion's Aurora for boss fighting, and I swap this in as well for these 2 flasks. And then Basalt Flask of Warding, pretty much, and Chemist. This is basically exactly what you want. There's not much room to change this around. Yeah. So onto the passive tree. the important thing, so you need a militant faith. These devotion mods are the best two, if you can get both, but if you can only get one, get the resistance. You'll need that to help cap resistances out. And yeah, and then you spec here Transcendence. Watcher's Eye, you want the 8% physical damage reduction while affected by determination. It's dirt cheap, I think 10 or 20 chaos. The ES on hit obviously is great as well. It might be harder to get. If you can't get that, then you would spec Ghost Reaver to get Leech to sort of make up for the energy shield on hit lost. You could try running neither of them. There's a decent amount of regen in this build. Where is it? With endurance charges up, it's around 700. So we get a bit of regen per charge. Now cluster jewels. This is important. So the large ones aren't that important. There's not many great options on large jewels. Because anything that gives increased, physical or attack damage is kind of useless. So you just want attack speed, accuracy on these. So I've gone for 2 like this. Yeah, these two are the same. And then this one, we want attack damage leached as mana. So fuel the fight you need somewhere. And then I've gone run through to get my impale chance. Yeah, it's pretty much to get it to nearly 100%. It'll get 100 if I level up one more time from aura effect, but it's close enough. So that's the large jewels. Now the medium jewels, you want every medium jewel will have Stalwart Commander on it, but you want 2 with Sublime Form. Where are they? It's mixed up. 2 with Sublime Form, 2 with Uncompromising, and 2 with Self-Control. So this gives 60% reduced mana reservation for these 3 auras, and then we have, from the tree, the helmet, the amulet, all that, we have 40% generic. So now, yeah, Determination, Grace, and Discipline all reserve 0, which is pretty important given that we're linking them to these 2 supports. And it lets us fit in all the damage auras we want, Dread Banner, Pride, all that good stuff. And then the small jewels, you also want Stalwart Commander. This rolls on Energy Shield, Armor, and Evasion, base small jewels. Doesn't matter which one you go for. Armor rolls give good damage, like 2% damage per 15% armor, roughly. So just look for good resistances on top of Stalwart Commander. It's quite important getting resistances wherever you possibly can on your jewels, because a lot of the gear just doesn't really have room. Pretty much just get it on your helmet, belt, and amulet. So rare jewels, just again attack speed, resistances. I think I've got evasion on this one, yeah, so evasion armor is good as well. They're quite cheap to get because no one really cares about evasion. Or armor rolls on jewels, and energy shield, it's just not important. It'll make it way more expensive, and I'd rather the damage. Already got 7,000 ES. So what else? So now I'm using a lot of anomalous and divergent and whatever old quality jewel gems here. A lot of them aren't vital, they're just little min-max improvements. If you want to run perforate, there's a weird sort of thing. So you see it's 16 quality, which you think, why isn't it 20? You read the additional effects down here. If it hits 20 quality, then this becomes 2 additional spikes if you've changed recently, and then 1 fewer spike permanently. And so that's a net increase of 1 spike if you've changed recently, and you've lost a spike otherwise. If you keep it between 10 and 19 quality, you get that 1 extra spike without if you've changed, and you don't lose any spikes. So it's actually just strictly better to keep it below 20. So the other important, anomalous, grace, divergent determination, these are kind of musts. They're just way too good. You need this for ailment immunity since our flasks are kind of full. And yeah, this just gives an insane amount of armor, literally 2.4 times more armor just from this quality, which is 2.4 times more damage. Urgent orders, divergent urgent orders is needed as well for your enduring cry. That's how we generate our charges. Just left click with instant war cry,
Can I not have
hold it
but a
down,
moment's
7-second
respite?
cooldown, it just keeps them up. So with divergent urgent orders you always get at least 2 charges, otherwise you won't keep them up permanently. Anomalous, Blood Rage is good for keeping your frenzies up versus bosses, but it's not needed really. And yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, Divergent Dread Banner is also very important to get, just gives you way more impale chance. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully... Ascendancy. So, Guardian gives us about, I think, 19% physical damage reduction. It's the only reason we use it. The regen's kind of nice as well, but the rest is useless. And then I've gone Berserker here, just DPS and stun immunity is why. I was Pathfinder for most of the time I was playing this build, but once my damage has gotten to the point it has, you just don't need that fast sustain for bossing. The bosses just get phased in a few seconds and they give fast charges when you phase them, so I swapped to Berserker. The stun immunity is really nice, especially for really hard content like 100% Delirious, T19 maps. See, yeah, most things don't do enough damage to stun you, even though your CI, usually CI has problems with stun, but with this much mitigation, you just barely get stunned. But that's not the case in Deep Delve or 100% Delirious maps. Things hit really fucking hard in there, so stuns are actually a problem, so Berserker solves that. One last thing I forgot to mention, my resistances in my hideout are only 40-something%. So only when I have all 7 endurance charges up am I capped on resistances, which you might think is a liability, but it doesn't matter on this kind of build. You have so much mitigation from Transcendence that it doesn't matter. I should quickly explain actually how Transcendence works. So reduction from armor caps at 90%. So this is a separate reduction to resistances, and resistances apply first. So a hit comes in, gets reduced by 70% from resistances, and then your armor will apply to that damage and reduce it by up to 90%. And the bigger the hit, the less mitigation you get normally. That's how armor normally works. That's still how it works, but when you have 2,000,000 armor, you can mitigate hits up to, I think, about 80 or 100,000, if that's before resistances. So you need armor rating 90 times the incoming damage after resistances to hit the full 90% reduction. That's sort of how that formula works. So if I pull up a calculator, so a hit of 100,000, or let's say 80,000. 80,000 gets reduced by resistances first, and then times 90. So you need this much armor to reduce a hit of 80,000 elemental damage by 90%. So I don't quite have that much, so maybe 70,000 or something. So, but either way, the only hit that big is double Atziri Flame Blast and Deep Delve stuff. So I actually do show this to briefly see how the clear speed is. Show the trigger as well. Atziri fight. Find the double flame blast. Nice. I don't have more damage. 20 mitigation, so I need more charge to tank it. But still pretty good. And yeah, I think that's everything. If you have any questions, anything I didn't cover, leave a comment. I'll reply to everything and try to explain it as best I can. But yeah, I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.